the reconstruction of a farm in the environment. The project V3DAS, Virtual 3D Agri-Stage for Experiential Learning, is placed within the challenges put by the European Commission to support the generational turnover of the agricultural entrepreneurship class, through the updating of the repertoire of professional competencies available in European Union. This challenge necessarily demands the development and the formalization of approaches of lifelong learning, suitable to promote the acquirement and improvement of technical and professional competencies and of transversal skills, characterizing the entrepreneurial profile. In such perspective, the project explores and exploits the potentialities offered by the interactive virtual worlds for the construction of pathways of guided apprenticeship in entrepreneurial roles within a training pathway organically structured and oriented towards the acquirement of managerial competencies and entrepreneurial skills. Therefore, the main aim of V3DAS is the reconstruction of a farm in virtual environment and the respective scenarios of enterprise management to use as moment of stage within the training pathway specifically defined for a new entrepreneurial class. In particular, in such environment, two kinds of virtual learning activities are animated. Video machinimas, consisting in micro-stories in 2 videos of professional practice, presenting multidimensional and complex problems, requiring highly professional competencies and strategies of risk prevision, risk-taking and management, refer to different areas of enterprise management and development. And simulations in virtual form, consisting in 3 simulations of professional practice in a context of farm management. The video machinimas allow to acquire and develop abilities, competencies and skills of problem finding, problem posing, problem solving, as well as of negotiating, provision making and risk taking, with reference to situations of professional practices connected to agricultural enterprise management and development. The simulations in virtual farm allow to acquire and develop abilities, competencies and skills of agricultural enterprise management and development, with reference to activities and tasks to be performed in a virtual model farm environment. The goal is to implement key competencies and skills, such as communication, or transversal abilities and skills, as problem finding, positioning and solving, as well as professional competencies, as knowing how to manage the enterprise in all its areas and activities, as well as to plan and manage enterprise development in different areas, balancing financial, human and territorial resources, and knowing how to deliver and provide services according to quality standards. This environment has been realized as the reproduction of the entire complex of the virtual farm property, of the surrounding environment, of annexed buildings, machineries and characters. It is a 3D environment which includes a set of tools for the business and collaboration in a cooperative framework which allows a synchronous interaction among the users connected by different devices through their own avatar. The reconstruction of the virtual farm has been carried out according to the implementation indications inferred by model farm. That is the story of how a farm is founded, grows, develops and is managed in order to be representative of an excellence in strategic areas of company development according to a managerial and entrepreneurial perspective. It is a modeling process of a good practice of enterprise management, set up starting from the collection and analysis of best models of enterprise, detected in partner countries and representative of an excellence in one or more areas of enterprise development. The process, which has led to the drawing up of the model farm, can be described as an action of modeling of an exemplar farm, with a reference to activities carried out, as activities and tasks, products and services provided, productive and managerial processes activated, devices and tools used, and procedures of management, monitoring and control for the quality assurance. With reference to the above-mentioned points, we aim to design a storyboard with the following characteristics of exemplariness, The farm described represents an exemplar model from which the learners can be inspired. Truthfulness. The model, as far as exemplar and ideal, presents a reference to context, situations, models, procedures, and processes which can be effectively and concretely implemented in a farm. Credibility and internal coherence. The farm, formalized and described, has been constructed as a complex body whose single parts are structured in a logic of coherence and interconnection in the unicum of the farm. Sustainability. The processes of enterprise development, the activities carried out, are presented as sustainable in reference to the internal and external resources and to the environmental context of reference. In order to be credible and truthful, a model does not need to be a real copy of a really existing farm, but it needs elements of excellence which can be actually detectable, mutatis mutandis, in any farm which has at least some characteristics similar to ours, even if not all. Situations described with reference to real and coherent activities with the farm management, and an internal coherence of the various processes articulated as single parts which contribute to the harmonization of the farm and to its overall functionality. The elements of excellence have been identified through a collection of best practices of farm management, which have been analyzed with reference to the following areas: interaction with the local context, traceability and tracing back, quality in process and product, multifunctionality, environmental management and sustainability, marketing, ICT use, and farm management and planning. The farms, selected on the basis of a territorial detection, have been interviewed through appropriate detection tools. The farms have been evaluated by the researchers of each partner country for the analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the business strategies with reference to specific criteria of evaluation. Approach based on the territory, proactive entrepreneurial approach, cooperation and partnership, innovation of process and product, perspective of integration in the territory and networking, perspective of chain, and effective and efficient management. Subsequently, the farms evaluated have been compared in order to identify the most representative models of best practices. The farms which have been considered as best practice in one or more of the above-mentioned areas have been described through the formalization of the organizational and managerial processes, which have determined and consolidated the excellence by a cross-evaluation carried out on the basis of specific indicators of performance. Efficacy of the business action, efficiency, quality, productivity, the ratio between input and output, well-being of people working in the farm, innovation, profitability, and adaptability, the farm's ability to face the changes. Such formalizations have been the main source of inspirations to determine the model farm within the market scenarios in consequence of the CAP's reform. On the whole, the areas cover all of the productive cycles which are present in the model farm, with reference to the following operational criteria of the single areas: strategy of enterprise management, qualification of processes and product, optimization of enterprise processes, productivity and profitability, levels of diversification and multifunctionality, sustainability, economic and financial management, mechanization, and adaptability and innovation. After having identified the farm areas, a detection is followed in order to identify the ones representative of the excellence in one or more of the above-mentioned areas through an action of: first, identification, screening, and detection of farms which are potentially representative of the excellence through the drawing up and sharing of guidelines and operational tools. Second, formalization of at least 10 best practices of farms in the above-mentioned areas, with the identification of 2 best practices in each partner country. The best practices, as formalized, have been used as a source of inspiration for the drawing up of the model firm through the collection of examples, which can be referred to the enterprise areas of excellence, to the reasons why the firm has been identified as best practice, and to the strategies of planning, action of implementations, and the tool used. The narrative approach. The model firm has been drawn up as a script, as a basis for writing down stories of professional practices, through which the learners can get in touch with an enterprise of medium-high level. That can be a very good element to facilitate the activation of modeling and transfer processes, also to different contexts. The idea is to give an input to young entrepreneurs, those involved in the training, for the reflection on problems of enterprise management, and for putting into practice strategies of problem finding and problem solving, starting from a comparison with the study of professional practice and with a community of peers. In this sense, the participants, the learners, will be helped to acquire not only technical and professional specific competencies, but also reflective competencies and creative skills to interact with problems coming from the professional practice. In such perspective, the stories have been articulated as a serial in 12 episodes, focused on events concerning the model firm. Each episode tackles a different problem on enterprise management, related to one or more areas. On the specifically narrative plan, the articulation as a serial is a narrative modality widely used by all the media, and then it is very close to the usual styles of young people when they get use of real or fictional stories. Moreover, it contributes to endear the characters and the company's situation, so to foster the identification with the situations, and a more participative attitude towards the resolution of problems. The localization of the learning in a well-defined context of virtual firm facilitates a more careful focusing on the problems of enterprise management, which are presented by limiting the interferences of other elements which could call the attention of the learners. On the very training plan, the use of a serial format allows to develop and analyze problems of enterprise development in sequence, according to an increasing level of complexity, so to calibrate them also on the basis of the levels of learning achieved in progress. The choice to organize learning materials for the virtual learning sessions as a narrative sequence in a serial form has been based on some considerations concerning pedagogical and didactic aspects. A. As the training objectives to be reached through the experience of the virtual internship are referred to specific competencies of enterprise management, such competencies can only be verified within a context of practice, real or simulated, in which there is not only one problem to be solved, but a sequence of problematical situations that are deeply interconnected and imply a variety of planning, actions, and reflections. B. As competencies of teamwork are indicated among the training objectives, it is important to offer the possibility to experiment and validate such competencies through activities which require forms of interaction in different roles and among different actors. C. It is essential to guarantee to the learners the possibility to consolidate and transfer the outcomes of learning among different contexts of formal and non-formal learning and of professional practice, and to implement their own competencies through a continuity of learning experience in a logic of continuity. D. The reference to a narrative format to organize and present learning materials is a really effective strategy to sustain a process of access to new knowledge that is not out of context but represents a set of tools validating within the field of cultural and social context. E. The use of a narrative format allows to accompany the trainees within a process of construction and development of stories, representing the set of knowledge and best practices shared by a professional community working in a productive sector and considered as a wider referring community.